Greetings, guys and gals, and welcome to the Films and Pixels Podcast, Episode 4. I'm your host, Afif, and today we have plenty of jam-packed topics. I'll be talking about what is Star Wars 1313, unreleased footage and images of an old Star Wars game that got cancelled, plus Niel Young versus Joe Rogan. How and why? I will explain that further. Why Ken Kutaragi is not a fan of the Metaverse, plus news on a potential Halo TV series, and why Ridley Scott turned down directing Disney movies. Now, before I go further on that topic, I do want to say that I did intend on talking about it in episode 3, but because of a recording error, somehow it didn't make it into the final footage, into the final edit of episode 3, so hopefully this time I'll make sure it goes through. Now, today's topic, I want to talk about Ridley Scott, who did speak to Hollywood Reporter recently, when they did a profile featuring him. At 84 years old, there are a lot of films he has directed to his credits, like Thelma Louise, Alien, Blade Runner, Black Hawk Down, Gladiator, recently House of Gucci, just to name a few, including The Martian as one of his well-known movies. Now, currently, he's in France in development of another movie called Kit Bag, based on the story of Napoleon, so we're going to see how that will go. At age 84, he's admitted to still being very much healthy and productive as ever. Now, when you look to his credits, some of his well-known movies have been distributed by 20th Century Fox. So when the whole Fox-Disney merger happened, the whole relationship hasn't gone on to a smooth start. Now, he did explain what happened and why he didn't want to direct any movies that Disney requested of him to make. He did say, "They wanted me to do a wizard film, and I don't do wizard movies." He says, "It was a bad idea. The older I get, the more I look for things which are about something, aren't just entertainment, and must have an effect on somebody. They wanted me to do a wizard film, and I don't do wizard films. It wasn't a good idea." So his relationship with Disney has seen some mixed results, off to a mixed start, in a way. Sorry if I'm not making sense there. However, he did say that Disney has been making an effort to market and promote The Last Duel, which starred Ben Affleck, Jodie Comer, Adam Driver, and another of his collaborators, Matt Damon, in the movie. Now, despite all the effort, the recent movie did make $30.6 million on a budget of $100 million. So it didn't exactly help things. However, House of Gucci did have the opposite result. Now, the movie did make $126.7 million worldwide on a budget of $75 million. So, I would say that's pretty good. I should also note that, part of his quotes, when he spoke to Mark Moran on a podcast called WTF Ridley, he said, Disney did a fantastic promotion job. What it boils down to is what we've got today are the audiences who are brought up on these fucking cell phones. The millennials do not ever want to be taught anything unless you're told it on the cell phone. No one can be entirely when recent movies no one can be blamed, or what I'm trying to say is that no one can really be blamed when movies like West Side Story and The Matrix Resurrections have struggled to bank plenty of box office money due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Although, when it comes to Sony and Marvel's Spider-Man No Way Home, so far they've made $1.6 billion, and it's fifth highest grossing movie of all time right now, and it has taken a lot of attention from the other films that well-acclaimed movie directors have made an effort to work on. So that does have an effect. He is concerned that because of the dominating box office effect of comic book movies, that Scott believes we're losing cinema entirely. Although at the moment he is working on another filmmaking project, he is co-producing along with Kenneth Branagh on with for a Disney movie, Death on the Nile. Although when it came to the merger, he was concerned. He isn't the only one. I mean, James Mangold, who some people may know from The Wolverine and Logan, which is one of the very best non-MCU Marvel movies ever made, did express concern on the whole thing. On the other hand, it was James Gunn, as some know, for the DC's The Suicide Squad and the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 and 2, did actually express optimism and was incredibly happy about the whole merger. So, I mean, like, first of all, regarding Scott, it's a good thing he still makes serious movies. If he doesn't want to do a Disney movie, good for him. That kind of brand, that kind of image, it's not for anyone. But that doesn't mean, and like Scott doesn't make like good films or make entertaining movies. Entertaining movies he's done plenty of. It's just a bit more action, serious heavy, I suppose. Like, it's not just the Gladiator. Like, I admit that some movies that he's made I don't have on top of my head, but like, a lot of them are serious classics. So, I mean, look, it's his right at the end of the day, and he should be applauded for standing firm. If he doesn't want to make a silly wizard movie based on King Arthur, good for him. Okay, guys and gals, when it comes to Star Wars and video games, they seem to merge or somewhat succeed in different genres, whether it's open world, RPG, even at some point racing. Now, we saw how so many people very much well received Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, while there were mixed feelings on the recent Battlefront 1 and 2. So why am I mentioning this? Because news has broken that there's going to be 3 new Star Wars games in development, but that's not all. Now, what's kind of interesting that all of a sudden, a prototype footage of what could have been a potential Star Wars game, simply called Star Wars 1313, was leaked on YouTube very recently on a channel called The Vault. Now, it was footage that shows what looks like a young Boba Fett or something. Like, Boba Fett would have been a playable character, of course, with third-person cover shooting, similar to what has been known and seen in the Uncharted gaming series. And what's interesting as well is that Amy Hennig, who has known to write the Uncharted series for Naughty Dog, was supposedly going to be like one of the series, or at least the game's creative director. Now, this isn't exactly new. Announcement for this Star Wars 1313 was announced all the way back in E3 2012. So what happened? Well, it seems that all pre-existing Star Wars gaming development was put on hold or ceased. And then since then, the Star Wars gaming license has been passed on to EA Games. So it seems like that's not going to happen anytime soon. Although there was a time when Lucasfilm's president, Kathleen Kennedy, did say in 2015 that the project could still be in development. But then again, by now that it's 2022, it's not going to happen. Although currently, right now, when it comes to Star Wars games, there are at least 2 major announcements that are in development. One is Star Wars Eclipse, which is supposedly like a interactive drama type game that it's like you pick and choose scenarios on certain moments. If you know Heavy Rain, Detroit Become Human, Beyond Two Souls, you might know what I'm talking about. Plus, the recent announcement in early September of the Knights of the Old Republic remake that's coming to PlayStation 5. I'm assuming sometime in the future on Xbox Series X S as well. So, I mean, I don't think that's going to be a series exclusive, but who knows what would have happened with this, Star Wars 1313. It seems like the world of that game, it was supposed to be like at least storyline set between prequel trilogy and the original trilogy. So that's what should, almost happened. It's not the first time there was footage of a canceled Star Wars game. There was supposedly like something of a Star Wars Battlefront 3, at least like the old era, not the rebooted EA games Battlefront 1 and 2, so that's kind of new. But I mean, like, now that I think that, like, it's kind of interesting timing that there's footage like this when looking at now that there's the book of Boba Fett Disney Plus streaming show ongoing. So maybe it was on purpose to add more excitement and hype regarding the whole Boba Fett fanfare going on. Again, I'm not sure what it's meant for, but I mean, at least it's good to know that there's more evidence of what could have been a possible Boba Fett video game. Guys and gals, Niel Young wanted his music off of Spotify. Now, why would he want that? Well, I will try to explain. What happened is that Niel Young actually recently requested Spotify to remove all of his music, and they fulfilled his request. Now, he did write in an open letter, which was recently deleted some time ago. He said, "I want you to let Spotify know immediately today that I want all of my music off their platform. They can have Joe Rogan or Young, not both. I'm doing this because Spotify is spreading fake information about vaccines, potentially causing death to those who believe the disinformation being spread by them. Please act on this immediately today and keep me informed of the time schedule." Okay, so what this is about is that, like many people, Niel Young is not exactly happy about Joe Rogan and his anti-COVID-19 vaccination status and all that sort of controversy that's seemingly going around right now. Because ever since episode 1757, Joe Rogan has been accused of spreading multiple false information on the whole COVID-19 vax and all that. So what I'm trying to say is, in Rogan's stance, he's been discouraging young people and children from getting vaccinated. But at least to him, it's fine with adults. So kids getting vaccinated, no. Adults, yes. Now he's claiming that mRNA vaccines are gene therapy, promoted off-label use of ivermectin to treat COVID-19, and spreading several unsubstantiated conspiracy theories. So why? I mean, like, whatever. I don't totally get it, But, on that same episode, he did host Dr. Robert Malone as his guest. Now, statements from Dr. Malone as well got his own Twitter account suspended because, he was promoting numerous baseless claims, like several falsehoods on COVID-19 vaccines and unfounded theory of societal leaders have hypnotized the public and all that, and they've been discredited. I mean, what's even worse is that he's compared to the whole COVID policies to the Holocaust, which are not similar, don't make sense. Those kinds of statements are dangerous and illogical, completely illogical. And Niel Young isn't exactly the only one not happy with Spotify at the moment. I mean, there was an open letter signed, a petition by 1,000 scientists and medical professionals, not exactly happy with, wanting Spotify to implement misinformation policy in response to Rogan and the false propaganda and also harmful to society and all that. And look, I think they had a tough decision, but, it's not going to be a more likable or popular one. It's either supporting Niel Young, who's a rock and roll legend whose career has spanned to this day from the 1960s, or a famous podcaster, who has 11 million listeners per episode, which makes it like the world's largest and one of the more popular podcasts on Spotify. Because Spotify's streaming service, when they brought the Joe Rogan podcast to its platform, it did cost them $100 million. So Like, of course, like when you make a more expensive acquisition and agree, to have it as part of your audio platform, you're going to make tough decisions. A spokesperson did have this to say: "We want all the world's music and audio content to be available to Spotify users. With that comes great responsibility in balancing both safety for listeners and freedom for creators. We regret Niel's decision to remove his music from Spotify, but hope to welcome him back soon." Now, Spotify has removed like 20,000 COVID-related podcast episodes since the pandemic. Although, and Niel Young also said, like in a follow-up letter, that while Spotify has represented 60% of his streaming revenue globally, amounting to a huge loss for his record company to absorb, he wanted his music removed because he could not continue to support Spotify's life-threatening misinformation to the music-loving public. And look, you know what? I credit him. I applaud Niel Young. I mean, look, he only just wants to stand for what's right, and he has his own principles. I get it. He doesn't want to be partnered or have his content, be shared in a brand that, at least at the moment, looks like they're willing to tolerate any sort of dangerous COVID-19, anti-vaccination, false propaganda. And look, I get it. It is dangerous to support those kinds of illogical claims, but I mean, I think eventually, both parties will come to an agreement, cooler heads, have a partnership again. But I mean, look, I get it. Like, he stands firm on what he wants and what he believes in. And look, he is right. It's kind of dangerous to say things like gene therapy or changing your DNA code or whatever. It's just, it doesn't make sense. It's not right. And you know what? More people should follow his example. I mean, right now, like if there's anyone that's being a good role model, it's definitely Niel Young. Guys and gals, there are those who are excited about the metaverse, and then there are those who are not excited about the metaverse. And you want to know who's not exactly all in on the whole metaverse thing that's going on? Ken Kutaragi. The same Ken Kutaragi who is still known as the father of PlayStation. Now, why isn't he exactly all in and not really like excited on the whole metaverse thing concept that's going on from Meta Platforms Inc.? He did have this to say: "Being in the real world is very different, but the metaverse is about making quasi-real in the virtual world, and I can't see the point of doing it. You would rather be a polished avatar instead of your real-life self? That's essentially no different from anonymous message board sites. Headsets would isolate you from the real world, and I can't agree with that. Headsets are simply annoying." Now, the quotes that I have, he did speak to Bloomberg, and, he was explaining to Bloomberg, like on a project on a company that he has. So going from Sony's gaming division in PlayStation to now being CEO of an artificial intelligence startup company known as Ascent Robotics, which they're trying to do the opposite of Meta Platforms, previously known as Facebook, for those that are not aware or a little confused. Now, Ascent are just, working on technology that turns real world objects into machine-readable data. Now, I admit I don't fully understand, but I'll try to say further. The idea is to create smarter, more versatile robots that will be able to perform various tasks and produce more than one kind of product. Okay? Now, Ascent's gear is aimed at retail logistics customers, freeing up human labor from simple tasks. Is it me, or is this whole Ascent Robotics trying to make humans lazy and fat? I mean, now that I think about it, this kind of reminds me of Wall-E, the Disney Pixar movie from, I think, 2008 or 2009. When there was that scene where Wall-E sees like a plant, there's this white robot called Eve, and then I think it's like somewhere in the third act there's like all these fat, lazy humans. Like that scene, like it's still in my head because I always worry that, we're heading into that direction where we let robotic technology, basically replace all our mental and physical capabilities. It's kind of scary. The company did Ascent Robotics finished a roundup funding that they actually got from Sony, since Kutaragi and Sony seems to have a relationship, funding of 1 billion yen, which is the equivalent of $8.7 million. Now the technology that Ascent is developing is for its robotic systems. It'll help transform real world objects into readable data. Creating smarter, more versatile robots, producing more tasks. So that's just kind of, it's almost like robot maids, robot slaves. I don't know. Like, seriously, I don't know what it is. Sounds like to me. It's just kind of strange. Like, I mean, good for them. I'm sure there's more than that. Like, a lot of the information I found, like, it's on a Bloomberg story, but I mean, like, what it means to turn objects into readable data, maybe like, I don't know, you look at a pen and it brings up information about manufacturer, color ink, length. That's what I'm assuming. I don't know for a fact, but I just have to assume that all kind of objects will turn into sort of computerized data that are stored in some sort of database. That's just the best I'm assuming. That's what I'm understanding. All right, guys and gals, for the final topic of the day, there's actually a new announcement of a possible, or actually now reality, of an upcoming Halo TV series. Yeah, that's right. The same Halo based on Microsoft's first-person shooting video game series that's been popular on Xbox and now on Windows. Now, here's the thing. First, there's gonna be a trailer that's gonna be coming out January 30 during the halftime of the NFL's AFC Championship game on Sunday, January 30 during halftime. Now, as terms of platform, streaming service is going to be coming out on Paramount Plus Original. So, I mean, that's what I do have. Although another thing, there's an official poster now on Twitter. There's an image of Master Chief on the left looking at the camera. And, his classic look, the armor, glass, eye shield. I mean, it looks amazing. Just as accurate as possible of the actual Master Chief character. I mean, he looks amazing. And the timing is great too, in my opinion. I mean, with everyone now celebrating and really having a lot of fun, clearly, of Halo Infinite, which has gotten a lot of critical acclaim, one of the better games. If there's anything that's new, is that it's more of an open world Halo game and not linear like before. And new gameplay mechanics like something called a hook shot, that makes it easier to traverse. So again, I really can't say on a personal experience, but I mean, clearly there's a lot of satisfaction. And what's also obvious is that when it was delayed from 2020 until December 8, 2021, it clearly showed that the time was worth it, while releasing, like, I think a month after Forza Horizon 5. So in terms of plot, it's going to be based on the 26th century timeline on a war between humanity and the alien race known as the Covenant. Now, in terms of cast members, which is the important news piece of this information, Master Chief will be, starred by Pablo Schreiber, who will be acting as Master Chief. In terms of casting, there's going to be Natasha McElhone, who will play Dr. Catherine Halsey. I don't know much about this character, but she is supposedly the main engineer behind the whole Spartan soldiers, kind of one of the doctors and one of the engineers responsible for the creation of Master Chief and other elite soldiers and the Spartan army and all that. Jen Taylor will play the AI Cortana. Now, most people already know Cortana as part of the Windows 10 software, but It's actually like one of the more well-known Halo characters as an AI companion, and really like one that actually has a character personality. Now there are other casting announcements, but I don't really know these characters well. Yurin Ha as Kwan Ha, sorry. Charlie Murphy as Maki. Shabana Azmi as Admiral, Margaret Perongoski, and Bokeem Woodbine. I don't think there was an announcement unless I somehow missed the character name, but yeah, I mean, like, yeah, that's mostly the casting announcement that I've got. But yeah, I mean, as for release date when it starts streaming, it's not entirely clear when. But it's good to know that there's going to be a trailer. So, I mean, look forward to that happening. Of course, it's going to be on YouTube around that day. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to look forward to for Halo fans right now, other than just still soaking in the excitement of Halo Infinite. Whether it's on Xbox Series, Xbox One, Windows 10, I mean, there's still a lot to be excited in terms of Halo content. I think at some point long ago, there was supposed to be something Halo related show on the program. I don't know if it turned to streaming platform as well on Showtime, and Steven Spielberg would have been executive producer. But at least it's good to know now that there's going to be something like Halo related, and there seems to be more of a proper plan moving forward. So at least it's good to know that things are going the right direction. Alright, guys and gals, and that wraps it up for today's episode of the Films and Pixels podcast, episode 4. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode, however you're watching it, whatever device. Thank you so much for taking your time. If you liked tonight's episode, again, please just comment and subscribe. Contribute to the Patreon page, follow and like all the social media pages that I'll make sure to put in the description section below. And yeah, really, again, thank you so much. If you want more content, please stay tuned. There's also more of it on the audio streaming platforms such as Google Podcast, Anghami, Spotify, Stitcher, and so forth. It's available in plenty of platforms. So again, thank you so much for the time that you took to watch me talk about different stuff. And again, it means a lot, so thank you so much.